What I learned was how I see myself is how they see me.
Yeah, go make friends and the business will come.
And you're running like this across the street.
What I didn't realize, that was an interview.
There is nobody who is self-made. Hey guys, welcome to Conversations Left Behind. We are all about your health, wealth, and fulfillment. Today, I have an amazing guest, and he happens to be a close friend of mine. We've done a lot of life together. His name is Phil Black, and he's going to share some nuggets that you're really going to want to stick around for. This guy has an amazing path, amazing journey that he's taken. And outside of that, I would say he is the king of storytelling. King of storytelling. Was that like did I just set a high bar?
That's a high bar. With that, I'll leave. Okay. I love the intro.
And that's a wrap. We'll see you next time.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, really, this guy, he has a lot. I have a lot of respect for him. We have our own time that we've shared together, and I wanted to have you on because I think that you'll be an amazing inspiration. And I know you're a person of character, integrity, and faith. I know that personally from walking life with you and your family. And so I thought, what an amazing way to join forces here and maybe inspire some of the folks that we speak to, which are typically business owners, entrepreneurs, people who are going through the grind, trying to build wealth, health, and fulfillment, which is always that struggle of finding what we were talking about offline, balance, whatever that looks like, so you don't leave a trail of carnage behind. So with that, man, first off, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming out. So Phil's retired. He's done an amazing job, had an amazing career and trajectory, but also what is really interesting is, I mean, you wouldn't say this, but I would. You were a powerhouse in the company that you retired from and played a big role, and you've really left a fingerprint in where you were. So if you give us a little context, where were you? How'd you get here? And just fill in some of the gaps for us.
Yeah, so thank you for the kind words, by the way. I appreciate that greatly. But what I did as a career in the beginning was about 12, 15 years of the typical corporate job where, you just did your best, a lot of politics being played, that type of thing. But I wanted more. I always wanted to build something, that type of thing. So I was drawn to a new startup company, and that's where I, started with a company called Rose International, and it was just a handful of us in the beginning. And I wanted to be a contractor. I wanted the challenge of, really earning your keep every day. And so I was asked to be one of the IT contractors for Rose International. And so that's how I started out with a company called Merits Corporation, which was a lot of fun, kind of a college campus type of setting. And what I really liked about it was, at the time, it was being run by a gentleman by the name of Bill Merits. And his son since took it over, Steve Merits, but Bill was accessible. I mean, he would walk the campus, and what a leader. Oh yeah, and when you saw him in action, he was just one of these guys that he could light up a room and get you all excited and that type of thing. But he was very influential to me because I just observed. Happened to just be in the same area, so I saw him walk by constantly, and a lot of times he'd stop, sit down, talk to you. May not even known who you were, but
that's leadership.
That was leadership, and you talk about getting pumped up after he would leave, right? And so, but I got a story about him that I think you'd enjoy. I was asked to talk. They had theaters throughout this complex, and I was asked to talk on sales. And so, man, I was studied up and I was ready to go. And I get in there and I'm just, telling my sales pitch. And I noticed he stepped in the back room, and he's in the back of the theater. And so I kept going on. He left. And
no pressure. Right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. He couldn't help but notice. He was a pretty imposing figure. And so I get back to my desk, and I get this note on my desk that said, Bill Merits would like to see you ASAP.
Uh-oh.
Exactly.
What did I say?
And I thought, oh, goodness gracious. And I thought, well, do I pack up? Because I thought you're gone.
It's over. I'm out of here.
Because then your mind's racing. What did I say?
Yeah.
Is there something? So I went up there, and his secretary was waiting for me, and she said, go on in. Wow. Okay. So I step in, and he's got a desk, and then he's got a table. He's at the table, and he's looking at all these books he's got open. And he doesn't turn to even address me. He just senses that I've walked in the door, and he says, come here. He didn't even know my name. I doubt if he knew my name. And I walked over and he said, see this book right here? He said, this is all about sales. And he moves in. He said, see this book right? My brother and I wrote this book. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's going through all these, and he stops, looks at me, and he said, one word, relationship.
It's powerful.
So in my little speech, he didn't get that part of it, so he made sure that I understood what sales was all about. But what a lesson, right? And
yeah.
Wow, he was such a powerful figure. So that kind of set the stage for me to just learn from him. And so anytime he were to speak or anything that he had going on, I'd show up. I just wanted to hear from this gentleman because I thought he was such a powerful leader. And he was. And, so that's where I really got a real feel and a sense of how to earn my keep and add value.
Did he mentor you along the way after that?
Yeah, after that, he was very friendly, and every time we saw each other, he was very welcoming. Hey, come on in, And so he was always, like I said, very accessible, and then he would, the stops by my desk were more frequent, and oh my gosh, he makes you want to work all night for a guy that appreciates what you're doing, and so he took me under his wing, and it gave me a big push. So I actually had reservation about going to that next level of sales inside of Rose International because I enjoyed Merit so much.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to stay there. But I'm glad I didn't, because I think that would have been just one of those types of things where I wouldn't have been able to grow as much as I wanted to grow. So I went on to get into the sales part of Rose International, and that just blew up from there, and I thought it fun.
So but you were in IT. Mm-hmm. So where'd the transition come? Because now you're telling the story, they plop you in sounded like maybe a lunch and learn type event. And here's the IT guy. Mm-hmm. And now you're speaking on sales. Where did that transition come from? Because there had to be a lot of pressure there. There
was, yeah. I can tell you, there was a gentleman at Clark Oil and Refining called Dick Arthur. I owe a lot to Dick Arthur, another mentor. And this is an amazing story, actually. I was working late one night as a programmer. I love programming, and to create something that did something on its own was a neat thing for me. And so I was late night working, and Dick Arthur, who was the VP of refining, stopped by my desk. And again, like Bill Merritt, sat down and started talking to me. And we just sat there and talked for 15 minutes. What I didn't realize, that was an interview. I had no clue it was an interview.
That's when it's the easy way.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it was a natural flow. And looking back on it now, I was just being myself, and maybe that was the best thing, right?
For sure, yeah.
And what happened was he called me the next day and he said, hey, I know you're in IT, but I want you to be a business liaison. You understand IT, you understand business. I want you to be the middleman because these two don't always speak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that changed everything for me. And I, to this day, think back on him and what he did for me. So he recognized that, and then he had me be the lead on automation of all the refineries. At that time, early 90s, we still had refineries, didn't even have PCs. And
wow.
So that was a real change for that environment. So culturally, it was a challenge, which was a lot of fun for me to overcome with the gentleman that had been out there 40, 50 years and thought, PCs, I don't need a PC. Yeah.
What do we need that for?
Exactly.
Where's my pen and pad? Where's my clipboard?
Oh, exactly. But they, there was a whole challenge with that I was able to overcome by a young lady by the name of Mary Coates. And I owe so much, there's a theme here. I owe a lot of people for and as you know, I was accredited for a lot of things, but never alone. Everybody was so helpful in my career, and making friends, or wow, the relationships, like you said, it creates a stage for everything else.
I love that you say that, because I repetitively say people propel prosperity.
Oh, absolutely.
And I read on Forbes magazine just recently, they had I can't remember who it was, but a prominent figure in saying self-made billionaire. And I thought, it just rubbed me, because I thought there is nobody who is self-made.
Good point.
Every one of us has somebody who is a stepping stone,
That's right.
who gave us a little grace in our raw form in the earlier days. You, in fact, as I was thinking about, our history and looking back on some of this, you did that for me.
Wow.
When we first met, I was a little bit younger. You had a different pathway, and I looked at you, and man, you looked like you had it together, and you understood how to communicate at a whole nother level that I did not. Now, whether you were where you were, who knows?
Looks can be deceiving.
I know. But no, I get that. But the point is, everybody can be a mentor in some way to somebody else.
Absolutely.
And in that season when we first met, I looked up to you and I saw qualities that I knew I didn't have. And now, I don't claim to be some great speaker or anything by any stretch, but what I will say is what I was then compared to what I am now is definitely a component of you speaking and influencing in my life from proximity.
Well, I'm flattered.
Yeah. So that's cool. So I love hitting on that topic. I call it the triple P, people propel prosperity, because all of us have those. So you had several stepping stones that push you forward.
No doubt.
Obviously, we weren't friends during that time. So there are a lot of people who had an impact on you. And then you moved into, and I want to talk about that too. Not yet. We'll pause on that. We'll come back to that in a minute. Let's keep moving forward, because once you stepped into Rose International, that was a small crew, and you had impact in that company. There was a lot of things that go with that, the pressures and everything else. So what I'd like for you to speak on is, first off, give us a picture of what that looked like, because it was a small, newer company, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. How you transitioned through that, and kind of where that took you, and what lessons we can learn from your path.
So it was a small group, and every day was intense. I mean, you could just, and you've been there, you've been part of a small company, but there was a lot of pressure on us, but I didn't really feel it. It was just like every day I couldn't wait to get to work.
You were thriving on it.
Couldn't wait. And you're right, every day seemed to jack me up even more for the next day, right? So that's an exciting environment to work in.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I was at one point, I was asked to kind of lead the St. Louis operations. And I remember there was one day in particular. I remember, obviously we did recruiting for, clients that needed IT support and that type of thing. And I remember a couple of the team members that had hot orders from clients that we need this type of person ASAP. And I remember one of the team members standing up on their desk in the middle of this room, hollering to the rest of the team, I need one of these,
Oh my gosh.
And it got results, and people were scurrying around, and we were able, by the end of the day, we found someone, we made the placement, So that's the kind of magic that I was a part of in the beginning of, the growth of that company. So that was indelible. I mean, it was, whoa, this is fun.
Was that person you described, was that you standing on the desk?
No, but it did encourage the whole room. What's funny is there were some people in the beginning of the team when you form, they all have different personalities, obviously.
Yeah.
And there were some that, were very quiet to themselves and in the corner, and they wanted to just get the work done.
Yeah.
We totally understand. And we need people like that, right?
Right.
But then there's others that just, are just excited to be there, love the chase, the hunt, whatever you want to call it. And it was contagious. The people that were wanting to sit in the corner, after a while, it was like when you see traders on the New York Stock Exchange. It reminds me of that.
It's exactly what I was seeing when you said this.
It was a blast.
And what you're talking about is culture.
Yeah,
we're talking about culture here. Yeah. And one thing that they don't know about you is there's a clown side of Phil who loves to laugh and loves to have fun. So it just goes to show that you don't have to be so serious all the time.
Right.
You can be a high achiever, high performer, and still have some fun. I got to share a story.
Okay, bring it.
So you'll remember this when after a few little clues here. We're in Chicago. We're all packed in my Nissan Armada, which was an 8-seat SUV. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I say all packed in, it's my family, your family, which means us, our wives, our kids. And we were so packed in that SUV, the suitcase and luggage was all on our laps.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah.
And we decide we need some Garrett's popcorn. So I had never had it, and you're like, gotta have Garrett's. We gotta have Garrett's. So I'm like, okay, Garrett's is the place. So we're looping around, and I don't remember what time of day it was, but it was busy, and there was traffic all over the place. So you're like, hey, just let me out. I'll go in and get the popcorn, and just keep looping. So we did that. You jumped out, ran in, and I think there was even a line in Garrett's to get the popcorn.
Always.
And so all this over popcorn. So we start looping, and you take off. You're in the store, and we're just trying to drive slow. And here's a stoplight again. It turns green. We have to go. So we start the loop again. And I think about the third loop or so of really just crawling around that corner, all of a sudden we get inside of Garrett's, and we see you pop out the door. Except for you're not just walking out, you've got the bags in your hand, you're holding them up, and you're running like this across the street like you just robbed Garrett's. And your legs and arms flying wide open, running across the busy street like you stole it. And oh my gosh.
I remember that.
We were dying laughing. The
was
whole car was just rocking with laughter, and it reminded me, man, you don't have to be so serious in life. That's such an amazing quality to be able to laugh and be silly sometimes, especially for an executive, because executives are supposed to be like this studious and quiet. And wow, what a difference! So I've really enjoyed that. But that was a memory just to give everybody a little taste of another side.
Well, I do love enjoying life and clowning, and there was one time I did it in a professional setting. I still can't believe I did this. But we had, I would say at the time, she was our number one performer. I mean, by far. But she was one of those that wanted to be in the corner, leave her alone, and do her job. And she was very good at what she did. But you talk about serious. Every day was, very serious with her. So it was right before Christmas time, and she was trying to lock down this candidate for one of our clients. And I had an opportunity, perfect match for the same candidate. And we had both talked to this person. Uh-oh. And so I went out and said, every once in a while I'd leave my office and sit out in the open and just get in the mix of things. I loved it. And I'd get on the phone and make phone calls. So I got pretty close to her. There was just a small wall between us. And I call, a fake call, to this candidate of hers. And we're having this great conversation.
Did you say a fake call?
It was a fake call. I didn't call him. She thought I called him. I used his name. I'm talking to him. I'm having a great conversation with this young man. She's on pins and needles, and I can hear feel the tension from her because I'm dialing this guy in, and which is her, I'm reeling him in. Yeah. And so she's like, what's going on here? So we're talking, and I could hear her almost falling off her chair because we're getting tight. I mean, we're talking about family. We're talking all this. So finally, to really close the deal, I said, I'll tell you what, since it's Christmas time, why don't you bring your family over and let's have Christmas together? And she absolutely lost it. She just stood up. So I give up. She walks out of the room. And when she came back, we were able to tell her it was a joke. But that's
hilarious.
But the whole room, lightened up after that. And so I like to always to create like you said, the culture. I like to create a fun environment. We all want to make money.
Yeah.
But when you're having fun and making money, that's a lot of.
Took me a long time to learn that. Now I get it.
Yeah.
I try to enjoy life a little bit more, but hence the book, Fear to Fortune.
Right.
Is I operated in fear mode for so long, fear of going broke, fear of missing the next deal and building the business and all that you kind of get lost in the journey, and it can be devastating. So if you can embrace that or learn that early on, which you definitely have done well in that area, what a blessing for sure.
Well, you touch on something that is dear to my heart. Faith, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We are both men of faith, and as I look back on my career, I wish I would have leaned on that more and taken more risk because, you're right, that fear that you talk about in your book, it can consume you, it can control you, it can limit you. There's so many things that fear brings with it, the baggage, right?
Yeah.
So if I had a do-over, I would really trust more in, believing that things work out. They always say 90% of all you worry about doesn't even happen.
Right.
It's true. Think of all the crises. When you look back on your career, I can't tell you how many times, we were on the perfect example. I was down in Anheuser-Busch, had 55 people billing there. At the time, that was incredible for us. 55 people, an amazing number for a client in the St. Louis area. And I was called in. The CIO at the time said, hey, you better go find another job. And this wasn't just me. This was all the folks that were, vendors providing these services for temporary labor. And he said, you might as well go find another job because you're going to be out of a job because we're taking, he said, 95% of all of our workforce over to India.
Wow.
So you're done. And I remember driving home thinking, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Maybe he's right. Maybe I should start making the phone. he was gone in 6 months because 95% was unrealistic.
Sure.
Should have been more like 35, 40, which is really where they landed after they let him go. But yeah, I wish I would have not put as much weight on that, because that really rocked me, and I really thought, my gosh, it's over. Well, if you get caught up in that every day, you'd think it's over.
Yeah, it's at some point you got to throw in the towel. But you know what they say about fear: false expectations appearing real, and it's always our fear of the future, not really of the now. It's not like a safety type fear, fight or flight. It's fear of what's going to happen from whatever we just experienced. Right. And it took me a long time to realize that too. And it does help. Obviously, I talk about the 5 pillars, which is faith, fitness, family, finance, and friends. And what I feel like in my life has given me the greatest point towards success. Not that I did them all well. It was something I learned along the way. I'm still practicing those and trying to be the best that I can with those. But yeah, the fear is a big deal. It really cripples a lot of people and creates a ceiling that their ability is so much more. But you get that ceiling of fear, and it kind of keeps you right here, and the narrative starts spinning in your head, and next thing you know, you don't make a move. Right. And what we know is no movement, no results.
Right. That also affects you, like when in the sales, as an example, when you're going to sell to someone, I believe that comes through, that fear.
Oh,
you're
man,
talking about, right? So someone that's been sold to all their career, they can get a read on you in a heartbeat, right? And, in the beginning, those folks would be pretty intimidating. But after a while, if you kind of realize, reading the room, right, and setting the stage for you to be your best, then you feel more comfortable, and then that comes through. And I really believe that the more you're just being real with the client, and sometimes I'll be in a situation where I've heard the people in front of me, maybe I can hear competitors that are trying to make the sale, and they're trying to say all the buzzwords and all the things that this person, you can read it on their face. They've heard it all before, right? So I always thought, how could I be unique in my approach so that I just don't sound like another broken record to them?
You're just coming in to sell.
Exactly. So what I've adopted, and which has really worked well for me, is go make friends and the business will come. And it's been a lot of fun. And I got a lot of friends that I probably wouldn't have been able to cultivate a relationship with them to that level if I hadn't had that approach.
Man, that's great advice. I 100% believe in that. I actually have an on-site meeting this afternoon, which I usually don't have many of those anymore. And it's with a pretty large client, our largest client, who asked me in. So me and a couple others will go visit them. And it's funny because I look at and this is for a new opportunity to build on what we already have, which we're already blessed with what we do have with them. And it really is because they've become trusting of me as a friend, as a person who does what they say.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I tried to sell them. I just turned off my sales voice and just tried to be the guy that they need when they need me, and be real. Just like you said, that's exactly right. So I think it's a great approach. I still have friends who are hard pitch, and I'm like, look, man, that may be you. It's just not my way. And I tried that. My first sales meeting was with Shelter Insurance. And they're in Columbia. The headquarters is in Columbia. And I went out there, and it was my dad. We had just started. And he's like, he knew what he was doing to me. He's like, hey, go out there, drive out to Columbia, and I want you to meet with these people. And I'm like, okay. And I thought it was like 1 or 2 people. And I was probably 20. And I drive out there, and I'm nervous, already. And I'm in my sloppy suit and everything else, because I say sloppy because, you just feel like you're just out of sorts and everything else. And I'm out there. And I go into this room, they pull me into this room, and it wasn't 1 or 2 people. It was like 8 people. Oh. And they come to this room, and oh my gosh, the heat came over me. I'm like, what in the world? But to your point of, people being able to read through, what you're feeling, or if you're fearful of those types of things, that was my greatest experience to learn that myself. What I learned was, how I see myself is how they see me. Yeah. And what happened was, it was an epic fail, by the way, because I was nervous. I felt like this little kid, and here I am sitting in a room full of like 40-year-olds, and I'm trying to pitch them, and I feel like they're like, why is this dumb kid, taking up our time to give us a pitch?
But good for your dad to be able to, because he knew what he was doing. You know?
He did.
And yet he let you have that much slack
Yeah.
to learn that valuable lesson.
It was that pressure that gave me a new insight to realize, now it still takes time to hone and get past it, but I realized quickly, they see what I feel.
Right.
And until I can change how I feel, which is all in my head, it didn't mean I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know the product. I wasn't capable or anything like that. All those are false narratives, but what it meant was I need to learn how to project what's real and get rid of the insecurities that, are shown on the front side that they see too.
Absolutely.
That's what it was. Speaking of dads,
Yeah.
what a segue. I love your dad.
Yeah.
Your mom and dad are some amazing people. I'm going to ask you a question, and I think I know where you're going to go, but who's been most impactful in your life? Forget all the careers, everything else, just in general. Who's been most impactful?
Yeah. So I'm gonna sound like I'm name dropping. I don't mean to do that, but through my career, I was able to interact with some amazing people.
Yeah.
David Stewart is one of them.
Wow.
And I think he was just made the list of the wealthiest person in Missouri.
Wow.
And I think he's in the nation. But I was able to interact with him many times because he started his business in 1990. We started in 1996. And so he was very influential to me, but I got to spend time with him. Robert Smith, who's another gentleman that's made it quite well in the St. Louis. He was the one that did the commencement speech and said at the end of his speech, "I'm paying for all your tuition." That guy. And I was able to have dinner with 3-star generals and things like that, right? Because we did a lot of work at Scott Air Force Base. All that to say, I would have rather spent that day with my dad, right? He was like your dad. I've been able to spend time with your dad. You've been able to spend time with mine. But my dad was more interesting to me. He had more stories because he was an amazing storyteller. And so he was someone that I observed over the years and how he interacted with people. And the amount of respect that people had for him, it was incredible to me. A perfect story is when he went to retire, I got a call from the vice president of operations for TWA. And he said, "I want you, this is your dad's last flight." He said, "I want you to be at the airport. I want you to bring your 2 daughters." And he goes, "I think it'd be a great photo op, and your dad, I'm going to surprise him." I said, "Oh, great." So we go, and this is pre-911, and we go down the concourse, and people come off the plane. They're done, and I grab my girls, and we run down, and we got amazing pictures of him in the cockpit with his 2 granddaughters. And we get off, and I didn't know this was going to happen. And we get off the plane. We're going down the jetway with Dad, and he's got the 2 girls, and it's just a neat moment. When we come out to the concourse area, there had assembled 100 captains that were there out of respect for my father. I don't know if they did that for everyone. He was the number 1 captain. Maybe that was one of the reasons.
He was number 1 for a long time, right?
He was number 1. So maybe that was part of it. But they lined up 50 on each side, and they were saluting as we walked through. And I just remember, wow, this is the guy that I've been hanging with, and these guys think this much of him. So I guess he impacted me in ways that, and a lot of it wasn't just talk. It was his actions and how he talked. I think sometimes and I just hope that I could live to this level. That if this ever happened to my girls, where they were in a situation like this, it would play out the same way. But I was at the health club with him, and I had to go to work. And he was in a jacuzzi. He said, "Hey, I'm going to just kind of hang out here." So I went to get dressed, opened his locker, and while I was getting dressed, a couple captains come in, and they see his door open at the locker, and he said, "Oh, Phil left his door." And so they shut it, not knowing I'm his son. And they started talking about him right in front of me, not knowing that there sits his son.
And you're thinking they're going to start trash talking my dad.
There you go. And instead, they said amazing things that I would only hope someone would say about me. And what a lesson.
Yeah.
Unintentional, right? He didn't even know that was happening. So I always think of, you'd say, who influenced me? Wow, things like that made such an impression on me, because then I thought, I want to live a life to get that kind of response from people, unsolicited, that type of thing. So that was a powerful moment for me. So yeah, no doubt he influenced me. A lot of times I think his personality, he loved people. You knew that. He loved to talk.
Yes,
he loved to build relationships. He had unconditional love. He didn't care. I was telling someone the other day, I've seen my dad talking with someone of very high stature and being able to hold his own. And I've seen him talk with, one night at church, there was a gentleman that was had a drinking problem and was literally looked to me like a bum on the street. And my dad was in the corner holding a conversation with him, and next thing I know, he said, he's going to dinner with us. And I remember vividly my brother and I sitting in, this guy was in between my brother and I in the back seat. And I just remember going, what is my dad doing? Lesson time, right? And wow, he influenced me with so many of those types of, things that he did throughout his career that just impacted me. So, and everyone else too.
He loved people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things I was reflecting on today, in the context, obviously, of knowing your family and what made Phil what Phil has and what he is, not monetarily, just the thing that makes Phil special. And one of the things that I always recall is no matter where you're at, you always seem to have empathy for people. In other words, it's hard when you're in that grind and you're kind of building your momentum in life and trying to build your finances and wealth and all the things that we're all chasing. We start out young and then someday we wake up and realize, there might be a little bit more to life than that. And we're blessed that our finances are stable and we have a good life. But to do it while you also have empathy and care about people along the way, there have been many times where we're traveling with our families and your phone's buzzing. And it's a problem. It's a problem that they need Phil Black. And you're on the phone and you're empathizing because something hard is coming down the pipeline for people that you want to protect and you care about, not your family, but in the workforce or whatever. And you always seem to exercise empathy for those people. While a lot of us, myself included, I struggle with that because you get so focused or so much tunnel vision on your life and the things that you're doing that we miss that part. Do you think that was influenced by your dad or how do you practice that or how do we become better at that?
Well, most definitely I was influenced by that, but you just reminded me, there was a client in St. Louis that everyone wanted to win. It was Express Scripts when they were up and coming and they were the company to win over. And I was at an event, it was at the Powell Symphony Hall, and right in the lobby, they had this amazing event going on, and a lot of my friends were there, and they had music blaring, and it was just tremendous atmosphere, and that I was enjoying to the fullest. And I look across the lobby, and I see a gentleman all by himself. And here I'm in the middle of, the who's who of St. Louis, enjoying every minute of it and just having the time of my life. And I look over, and I'm thinking, it was compelling to me to find out what is his story. Why isn't he over here? And maybe I could pull him over and introduce him to some of these folks, So I go over, and instead he was not in the mood to go meet anyone. He was kind of in his own world, but he seemed to enjoy a little bit of a conversation. Do you know that led to me landing Express Scripts?
Oh, wow.
No, I didn't go for that. I didn't know that. But, back to having empathy for people, you never know where any of that's going to lead.
Yeah.
Back to the make friends right, even the friends that aren't the most popular in the moment and that type of thing. So I guess I've always felt that the more connections you have, the more people you say hello to, more people that you really enjoy their company, and again, back to the friends and business will come, that's paid big dividends for me.
Yeah.
And I remember, my oldest daughter, when she was struggling with trying to figure out what she wanted to do in her career, she was, at a time she graduated where they weren't really hiring at that time. She was a teacher, and it was mid-year, and so it was a difficult time for her. And I was trying to encourage her, and I said, oh, if I were you, I'd take your personality, which you know well.
She's got a big personality.
Right, I would market that.
Yeah.
And that was foreign to her. She said, what do you mean market that? I said, Jess, oh my gosh. I said, if I had a Jess in front of me, I'd hire her in a heartbeat. Really? No, really, I would. I hire a lot of people. I would hire you. Yeah. And I could see her confidence starting to build. But she's very powerful once she's in front of someone. But she was at a very low point, and I said, go get dressed up, put your Sunday's best on, we're going to get out there, and she did. And I said, now you're going to go into these schools, and you're going to ask to see the principal, and most of them are going to say, he's not here, or she's not here, you've got to come back, make an appointment. I said, but when they do come out to meet you, game on. That's when and do you know she had a week of that, and she had multiple job offers at the end of that week.
That's awesome.
Marketing,
yeah,
Jess. You know, that kind of thing. So that was a powerful moment for me and my daughter. But
I think people lack boldness.
yeah,
They struggle putting themselves out front, and it's easy to care what people think. And some of us, it comes easier to not care what people think. But some of us, in knowing her, both your daughters, and their dynamic personalities, man, they are full of life. And I'm not even sure what she may have been applying for, but her personality is so magnetic. I think anybody would say, hey, let's find a spot for you because you're pretty dynamic.
Well, that's exactly what they did. In fact, she was interviewing for a teacher's position, and they didn't have any openings, but they created a spot for substitutes. So she ended up substituting for multiple schools, which, knowing her, that was really an awesome thing because then she was able to dial in where she wanted to go. You know, so that's another good point about business. I've always thought there's no dead ends. Every turn I've ever made in my career, once I learned that, it took me a long time, but once I figured that one out, that take every door that is open to you, push it in, you know, and go explore it. No matter even if it is, you know, something that doesn't seem like it's a perfect fit, make the connections for that person to who your acquaintance is that it is a perfect fit, right?
Yeah.
And then those pay dividends. So to me, it was like a game. And I just felt like, okay, here's this chess table that I'm playing. And this move could mean much more than just what I'm seeing it now. It could lead to positioning for a much bigger win or much bigger play. And it worked that way. Now, I mentioned Dave Stewart earlier. I saw him do something that was incredible. I have to share this with you. Remember when A.G. Edwards was still a company down here? It's since now Wells Fargo. But when they were at A.G. Edwards, they had a very secure and tight security checkpoint in front. They wouldn't let you in. You couldn't roam the halls, that type of thing. So I walked into the lobby and went and put my name in, and Dave Stewart was out front in the lobby selling to this guy. And this poor man, because this guy was an amazing salesperson. I mean, wow, when he was dialed in, forget about it. You're going to buy it.
You're going to buy it.
And
just get it over with.
Yeah, look at what World Technology has done. You can see why, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to really, you know, I knew Dave. I've flown on planes with him. I played golf with him. He was so kind at Briel's one time. His family met mine, and on and on. But I didn't want to bug him in the middle of this. So I went sheepishly. I went over, sat in a corner, and waiting for my appointment. And while he's talking, he looks over his shoulder, and he sees me in the lobby. Mid-sales pitch. And he tells the gentleman, hang on a second. He leaves his post, runs over to me, gives me a bear hug. Man, it's great seeing you. Goes back in, doesn't miss a beat, back into his conversation. Wow. Now, at the time, he wasn't Dave Stewart yet, right? He was just another guy. You know, it was in the 90s, and bumping into him and that type of thing. But wow, I picked up on I even questioned myself. Would I feel that confident to do that? That was neat to see.
Yeah, to pause, jump ship, and then come back to it.
And come back mid-sentence. Like, I don't think I'd ever feel comfortable leaving a client just hanging out while I'm going to go. But he did.
He must have had the hook sunk in deep. I mean, it must have been in deep for him to be able to step away like that. But that's fantastic.
He was charismatic.
He's top notch. He's top notch.
No doubt about it.
So that's a great segue into, we've hit on kind of all the pillars, I think. Mm-hmm. But let me ask you this: what now? What matters to you most now?
Oh, you know, faith is obviously something that when you're in the throes of life and keeping things going in business and pressures and all that, sometimes I think everyone struggles with this, but really digging deeper into your faith and developing that at a much getting more depth in that. That's important to me. And then obviously you mentioned family, your skill I'm working down. But family to me is, and since I just lost my parents, it even magnifies how important it is to be close to your family. And you and I are both family men. And so I'm really trying to be available to my family. And it's not easy. And let me tell you why. You know, I retired the 31st of last year. We found my mother had passed on the 1st. And then it seemed from that point until now a bit of a whirlwind. There's a lot of things to deal with. And, you just don't know when things like that, boom, boom, happen so fast. all the steps you have to take. And I have to say, my family, my immediate family, has just been incredible support. My wife is just, taking the reins of so many things that would be probably loose ends if I were to have dealt with it, right?
Yeah.
But and then my daughter stepped up, both of them, and really helped tremendously. And so I guess I'm just really relying on the time that I have to make every minute, every moment really count with them, especially because, I worked hard at being present with them, but there were times I was guilty of being, let's say, at a game of theirs or whatever, and my mind's racing on tomorrow's task, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody struggles with that, especially if you're all in. If you're putting it 110%, I just don't know that many people that have a switch and they can flip it off and be in the moment. And I mean, really in the moment.
Yeah.
And then flip it back on, when you're in the back. So I think thank God, that we've been blessed that we can take this time and really focus on making those moments count, and that time, you hang on every one of their words.
Yeah.
So many years, Dad, I hang on every word. I want to hang on yours. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I love that. It's kind of shifting gears to really see the blessing that's right in front of you. Mm-hmm. I just had a conversation, it's interesting you say that, just last night about 10 o'clock at night through some texts with some folks that we've been working with, some young entrepreneurs, and him and his wife, and their struggle is right there. And I always tell everybody the same thing. Look, in those pillars, because it's kind of the foundation mm-hmm. of what I teach. So in those pillars, there are times where family and finance have to toggle. There's sacrifice that has to be made. The challenge is if you're always depositing into the finance side and you never switch those and toggle them to where the family becomes a priority after a big project or whatever else, there builds resentment, frustrations in the family, and the relationships start to struggle a bit. And I've been down that path. Mm-hmm. It can be hard because you're right. You get sucked in, and it's really hard as any high performer, to be present 100% of the time with your family. We want to put family first, but mm-hmm. obviously there's a financial responsibility and there's a positional responsibility that we have. So, what I've learned to kind of piggyback on what you're saying is I try to make sure, I know that I'm guilty of those times where I'm not really present because something has my attention, it's really pulling on me, it's a problem, it's a big deal that you're trying to work out. But then I try to say, okay, as soon as that's done, how do I really go all in to kind of put some depositing back into my family since, I pulled away for a time to get this project done. Right. So I think they always have to toggle some, but when you get to be our age, you see time a little differently.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's funny because I think it was about 48 for me. Now I know most people are thinking, what? 48? No, I'm just kidding. And I realized, I'm like, wow, hey, I'm almost 50. And then 50 came and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm only like 25 years away from my parents.
That's right.
And I would be in my 70s. It's a big awakening that I think most people don't see until they are well into their 40s. And then they're trying to shift and scramble to say, I shouldn't have given so much time to this.
That's right.
How do I give time to this? So it pulls me into the conclusion of our conversation about legacy. Obviously, when we get to the point where we are now, we see things differently because we realize time is limited. And it can be any day for us. Right. If we're blessed each day to wake up, have breath. And I hope we live to a ripe old, I always say I want to live to 106. I want to be on a Smucker's jar.
Yeah, there you go.
Nobody may even know what a Smucker's jar is anymore, but you and I know.
do.
That's what matters. But really, I want to be more than just a number. I want to be most impactful during this time now that, the lens is kind of cleared a little bit that, hey, you do have a limited number of days left. You do have a limited number of Christmases left with your family. You do have a limited number of days before your grandkids start, moving into this or moving into that and starting their lives. So to really just embrace where you are now. And I think if younger folks could really grasp that, man, it could be so much more impactful for their journey.
Oh, absolutely.
Than to be waiting.
I'll take it one step further because I've shared this story with you. My father sat me down when he was about 82 years old. He had a lot of health issues, as you know. And him and I had done a project closing or opening the pool, and he was fatigued. He was just he was trying to help, but his body just was giving out. And I remember him tearfully telling me, whatever you want to do in life, do it now. And at the time, I didn't appreciate all that he was trying to communicate. But now I know clearly what he was talking about. We talked about 106. But how active will we be at 106?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so
and that was
true.
his point to me. And when he shared that, I look at people in their early 80s. You and I both love extreme sports. We
Yeah.
love doing those things. My daughter was reminding me of the skydive we did together. Those types of things.
Adrenaline. Bring the adrenaline.
I hope, but we don't know. Will I be able to do that at 85, right? And chances are you probably won't be doing those extreme sports at that time, unless you're some type of anomaly. But that being said, man, I took that to heart. You're right. We have statistically,
Yeah.
right? I
know.
mean, it's the writing's on the wall. Even though we're working on our health, we don't know what the future holds. So you're right. It's even scarier when you think of, okay, even if you live till 106, how many of those years will be active? And when you
Yeah.
talk about retirement, everybody talks about the three modes: the go, the slow go, and then the no go. And if you think about
that's new to me.
there's a lot to that, right?
Yeah,
think
yeah,
about that
for sure.
So when you retire, you really think about those things, right? And so you're right; it all becomes so more intense. And I'm just thankful that we had the opportunity to think like this, right? There's
Yeah,
people that don't, and we visited a friend that passed way too early, not too long ago, and I thought of that. I thought, oh, what an opportunity we've got to be able to digest, and I want to thank you for doing this type of thing, because it really helps us reflect
Yeah.
on what really means something to us, right? And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm all about building careers and having a lot of success and making money and making sure our families have all they need. But then, when's enough is enough. And I think I've shared this story with you. I was out opportunity of a lifetime to speak with Ted Drews. And a buddy of mine, very wealthy, was building complexes over on the east side, and he called me up and said, hey, I want you to meet with Ted Drews, and I'd love Ted Drews to open up a place over here. So I don't have to drive across the river to go to Ted Drews. So I called Ted Drews. We had a meeting, talked to him. I said the package that he was offering Ted Drews was like $1 million. He was going to let him use his, the strip mall over there, and he set them all up. And Ted Drews was blown away. He said, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this. He said, let me think about it. So he gets back to me. He said, hey, I have really studied this offer. It is amazing. It's all that you said it was. He said, I've never had anything like this, presented to me. I'm flattered, all that. He said, but I've prayed about it, and I just want to tell you this. I've got enough. And that was a really difficult thing for me at the time to process, because I can't even comprehend. You and I, would a deal like that, we'd be all over. But he had reached an age where enough he had achieved,
Yeah.
So that was another big lesson for me, for sure. But so when everybody's got to set that line.
Yeah.
What's enough, right?
I love that. And you are the first person outside of some conversations that I've had that I've heard say that. Totally agree with that. And I've said the same thing, so I have some friends who they're wanting to, attack life at this age. And I get it. But for me, I've been blessed to have financial freedom early by the grace of God and some hard work. And I don't want to go out and conquer the world at this point. Some call it comfort, and so the comfort, kills your career. But I think exactly what you said is so important to realize. What's your number? What are you really after? Is it just do it to do it? Is it an ego move, or what is it? Because what I've learned, and you tell me how you feel about this, but man, I chased money for so many years, and I realized it didn't fill the void.
Right.
It didn't fill the void. It bought me some nice toys. And allowed you and I to have some fun, So we've been on some adventures together. We got one coming up in a couple weeks. But man, it didn't fill the void.
Right.
So I think if you really sit back and realize, or sit back and analyze and say, what is my number? What do I need to be happy in life?
Right.
Do I really need 100 million in the bank, or would a couple million, or a couple 100,000, or I don't know, whatever it is, but. That's your choice. It's not the same for everybody, because there's going to be a price to pay to get there. And do you want to give away all that time in your life and in your abilities to enjoy your family and the journey before you phase out?
Well, I think that's something that you're helping people do, is really clarify that target, right? Because you meet somebody that is just, they're eager to make an impact in the world. They want to do everything, and they get a little scattered sometimes, right? And they're more that shotgun instead of that sharpshooter type of thing. So I think what you're doing is providing a service to help people really zero in on that target. What is most important to you? And you listen to folks that have done this type of thing before, and they, they're in front of a big house or in front of fancy cars, and that is something that always seems to get everyone's attention. But as you get older, that stuff seems to fade. And I told someone this, and it's so true. When I started in my career, I wanted everything. I wanted all the money in the world. I wanted the big car. I wanted all of that. And I was going for it. Yeah. And wherever the brass ring, let me leap for it. I'm doing it. And then as you get older and God blesses you with things and rewards you for, your hard work and that type of thing, then those things seem to, grow dimly.
Not as shiny.
That's right. They're not as shiny. Or you realize, well, I've had them and they all rust and they all,
I got to keep cleaning them. I got to keep changing oil in them.
You got it. So, but I'm all about a toy. Don't get me wrong. You know that. I love toys and they're a lot of fun, but they've got their place, right? And as you get older, they seem to kind of fade a little bit in the distance. And then you really want to focus more on those relationships that you have. And so that being said, what I'm trying to do now in the phase of life that I'm in, which I love, by the way. I mean, you dream about this day, right? You always focus on it, and then you make it to the point where you finally have time to do what, I got plenty of things I need to do, but I don't need to do them today. I can kind of, timely plan my task. But that being said, thank God for the opportunity to be able to really sit with friends like you and reminisce. That's always fun. We've got great memories. Our parents have really been a blessing to both of us. But that being said, now it's time to give back.
Yeah.
And I really feel that. I feel like I love mentorship. You love to do mentorships. You get so much out of it. I think I've told you this story. I had a young man came to me and said, I want to set a time with you once a month and just set an hour. If you don't mind, I'll pick the topic. I just want to pick your brain. And I got to thinking after doing that several times with him, I got a lot from that.
Yeah,
Even though he was supposed to be picking my brain, I learned a lot, which was a great thing. And my wife actually pointed that out to me one night after I got off the phone. She goes, is this for him or you? So that was neat. But I thought, man, I wish I would have learned that a long time ago. And that's what you're trying to do for people, right? Hey, don't try and go and reinvent the wheel. There's a plan.
Yeah.
Go through the plan with me. I'm here. I enjoy it. It's time for me to give back, and it's just a whole lot easier to do it that way. I think.
I love it.
You and I've been in the point where we've built and invented the wheel.
Yeah,
don't want to do that anymore.
Or tried at least.
Yeah.
Sometimes we did.
A little wobbly.
It rolls. Sometimes a little clunky, but no, I love that, man. It's really all about giving back.
Yeah.
On that note, and as we come to a close, on the topic of what you were talking about, chatting with this guy. I want to encourage everybody who's listening now to be bold, and the reason is I was at a speaking event just early this year, and I was speaking on basically stepping in and breaking through some barriers in your life and fear-based that just kind of create a ceiling and just kind of keep you trapped where you're at. And part of the speakers were blessed with a cruise. And on the cruise, we were fed a wonderful meal and it was fabulous. And there were certain people who I guess purchased the VIP tickets. I didn't even know what all was going on. They said, okay, all the speakers, go this way, we're going on a cruise. I'm like, okay, so I just followed along. And we're on the cruise and I met some other folks and we're sitting at these 8-foot tables, that are built into the cruise ship on the top deck. And I say cruise ship, just a small cruise ship in Idaho, Coeur d'Alene. And we're on the water, and it's a beautiful setting. The food is fantastic, and I'm joined with other speakers, and we're in conversation as we met and just kind of collaborating and enjoying, being together. And me and this other guy, a new friend of mine named Nick, are sitting at the end of the table. And as we're talking, we were in a real conversation, engaging conversation. And this young guy named Jesse comes walking over real slow, and he's got his plate. Apparently he had a VIP ticket. And he slides it right on the table between the two of us like this real slow motion. It was hilarious. I was laughing inside. Just on the table, and he says, can I just sit and listen to your conversation?
In between the two of you?
In between the two of us. and I look at Nick, and we're both kind of like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And but I'm thinking inside, the audacity and the boldness of this guy.
Wow.
Good for you,
Yeah.
man. Good for you. So I'm like, you bet. Sit down. Pull up a seat. And he sat there quietly, ate his food, and just listened to us chat. You know, we were just
As we're going.
No, it was actually on this huge lake, and it was like glass. You couldn't even tell you were on a cruise. But all that to say, man, the boldness of just being present and stepping in to hear from some older guys, you know, I guess I was one of those at the time, and reflect on their wisdom and just extract that even when it was uncomfortable. Most people would not do that. Now, I've bumped into the same guy at multiple conferences at this point, and I've got to know his whole family. In fact, one of his family members and his wife were the ones that I was chatting with last night that we were talking about.
Oh.
So it's really kind of stretched outside. What a wonderful group of people. So,
And it all started with his boldness.
and it all started with his boldness of
listen
sliding his plate in, and then I met the whole clan from there. Great group of
That's
people.
a neat story.
But it's being bold, number one, and it's giving back,
Yeah.
and that is fulfilling.
That is.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Hey, as we close this out, first I have to say, thanks, man, for showing up.
Yeah, no.
I love you as a friend. I appreciate all the influence you've been in my life and the impact that you and your wife and family have had on mine. Just by proximity of seeing how you operate, the things that you do, and everything else, it's a positive influence, and it's a godly influence on my marriage, on my family, and just how I operate as a whole. So I know we don't talk about that stuff much, but I just want you to know that I see it, it's there, and I appreciate it. That comes from our friendship. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for those kind words, but thank you because many people may not know this, but you used to be my girl's youth leader.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the real bond between our children started and solidified. But there was some really neat basic principles that you were really working hard to instill in all of our girls. And that means a lot to me. So thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
All right, brother.
Guys, listen. Listen to this again if you need to. But this is so important because here's a guy who has had a lustrous career. He's probably had more lunches in 1 decade than I've had in my lifetime, meeting some amazing people. No, that was no pun to your physical appearance at all. But no, he's a great friend. He's got some amazing nuggets, and what you shared was insightful and really impactful for those people who are trying to build their career, manage their family, and all things to where, hey, you can have it all. You just have to change your perspective on what all is. And that's what I love about doing what we're doing right here, right now. So hey, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button. You'll get a notification when the next video comes out. I'm gonna keep sharing with amazing friends like Phil today in hopes that we can just kind of give back and inspire those who are going through the grind. If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, this is for you. We'll see you next time.